is entitled Jesus Insurgency. And really what happened, the Arab Spring just changed the landscape of the universe, really in a few months. And what happened, there were people on the fringes of society. And they weren't the folks who were calling the shots. They were folk on the edge. They were on the fringes of society, and those folk on the fringes of society decided to take their world back. And they were always in the media. They were always called insurgents. You know, but were they really insurgents, or were they indigenous people asking more from their government and from their leaders than they were receiving? So when I think about the church and I think about the prospect of an insurgent movement, I'm reminded of the many people who have affiliated with our church over the last 20 years. I'll just give you a quick profile. About 14,000 people have walked down the aisle in 20 years. 14,000. And I will tell you, most of those folks have walked down the aisle in 20 years for one reason: because we asked them. I mean, a request is a powerful tool when it's backed by sincerity and love. So 14,000 people walked down the aisle, and of those 14,000, about 67% were professional faith. You know, and that's professional. That's people making their profession of faith really for the first time, many in their adult lives. They have come from what we would consider the edge. You know, it's always amazing. I asked for last Sunday we did baptism. Last Sunday we normally do baptism on second Sunday, and I asked the folk. I said it was time for baptism. I said, how many in the room have been baptized? Now remember this: about 60% of the crowd professional faith. I asked them, how many folk in the room have been baptized? 85% of the room raised their hand. So I'm reminded all the time that, you know, even though folk are on the edge, it's a good possibility they're there because they have been pushed to the edge. You know, that's what I'm really finding. It's not like folk haven't had a church experience. And it's not like they haven't had a significant connection to the institution, but somehow and somewhere along the way, government decided it had a better idea for the church to be. So this insurgent movement that we began to articulate in the book really spoke to a question. And then the question is, what would happen if the folk on the fringe, on the edge, or in the margins of society and even the church decided one day, we want the church? And what would it look like? Well, it would probably look, leadership in many cases would look a lot like me. I was just talking to Dr. over here a few minutes ago, and I was telling her that I have been working on a seminary degree for 20 years. And that's not, that's not something I should be proud of for some at a seminary. Yeah, all right. But it does mean that the seminary has at least made money, especially off the classes I dropped along the way. But leadership would endure in many cases, and I'm not saying it from a specific demographic standpoint, but how about from the standpoint of a guy with some business skills who falls in love with Jesus and decides to employ those skills I had skills out there on the pavement. And the guy who was the pastor of the church said, hey, you know what? I'm getting ready to open a second campus, and I'd like for you to help me. But what he was really saying was, you know, you got skills. And if you could employ those skills in this mission downtown, coupled with the fact that you're now a Christian, then I think things can happen. Well, you know, I'm reminded when I think about the insurgent movement, how many times over the last, maybe just 10 years, how many times over the last 10 years, young men and women have experienced the institution, let's call it government, have experienced the institution, it's really church, and have said, I want to be a part of that. I want to, matter of fact, Rudy, I want to experience the joy that you're experiencing in this vocation. And then I would have a conversation with them, and I would say, are you sure? Because that's the same question he was asking me. You know, when I told Brother John in 1999 that I had, I was answering a call to ministry. I didn't know what a call to ministry meant, but I told him I was answering a call to ministry, and his question to me was, why? So, you know, so over the years I've been asking that question, so why? And then they would tell me, they would tell me most of the time, because I want to see the world change. And then, almost as soon as the words come out, disillusionment begins to set in. Because in order to change the world, you couldn't come from the margins into the